It's Monday. Damn. Oh wait, it's Monday. Which means that tomorrow's new release day. Hi there, coverkillernation here, and there's an important new release coming out tomorrow that I'm going to be covering in today's album review, and that's going to be Dystopia by the band Iced Earth. Now, a lot of you know who Iced Earth is. This is a band that really needs no introduction. They've been making music, making albums, and fighting around the world since the 1990s. And there's, of course, been the Matt Barlow saga that's been going on ever since the 2000s, where he's been in the band, he's been out of the band, he's been in the band, he's been out of the band. Tim Ripper Owens has been in the band, and then he was back in the band. Okay, so I made it a little bit more complicated than it actually was, but bear with me. The reason why I even mentioned that is because, guess what? Oh, he's out of the band again. Yeah, he decided to pursue interests that involved his family, so one could even say that he made a little bit more of a responsible choice here, but I mean, that really all depends on how you want to look at it, and we, of course, wish him the best in his future endeavors. However, with that said, there was an absence spot at the vocalist position for the band, and so they were able to pick up Stu from Into Eternity in order to fill that gap. Now, Stu had been working on a new Into Eternity album, which was slated to come out sometime here in 2011, ever since The Incurable Tragedy was released a couple of years ago, in I believe 2008. Strangely enough, right around that same time frame was the last time we saw an Iced Earth output, which was part 2 of the Something Wicked duality of albums that was released, one of which involved Tim Ripper Owens on vocals, the second of which involved Barlow. So, firstly, how is the first post Something Wicked album cycle album going to sound like? And two, how is Stu going to have an impact on this band? Well, first off, the whole Something Wicked idea, just throw that out the window, because there's 2 songs on this album, the very first and the very last, Triumph and Tragedy and the self-titled track Dystopia, that are also parts of the Something Wicked idea. Instead of it being a full, entire third album, they instead opted just to use certain little songs on the album in order to further the story, to explain the story a little bit more, do this, do that, and these and those. And that's kind of the way in which the whole thing started anyway, considering the Something Wicked triptych, the Something Wicked song cycle, began all the way back in the 1990s. And it was only 3 songs on the album. It wasn't the entire record whenever those songs appeared. So this is kind of a throwback to that idea. It's something that they've done with EPs and things like that. In fact, there's officially 5 releases that have something that is involved with the Something Wicked song concept and idea. Now, as for the rest of the album, there seems to be a little amalgamation here of 2 different separate ideas. And the first idea is a lot of old classic films, or even newer films, all depending on your take. We have Dark City, we have an Equilibrium, and we also have V, which is based around the story of V for Vendetta. And this song is fantastic. I'm a big V for Vendetta fan. Not to mention, this song really is able to take a very nice little approach to it lyrically and musically. I mean, it's something where the idea of rebellion needs to be presented in a certain facet and format, and they were able to do so very nicely on this track. And I gotta say, Stu's vocals are just as amazing now as when he was singing for Into Eternity. Not that all that much was going to change anyway, but you would think that maybe, you know, new band, it's going to be a little bit of a different sound, a little bit of a different format. No, Stu just basically lets the pipes flow free and really exhibits his style. In fact, one reviewer had said, whenever getting an advanced copy of the album, this was on a website, that basically he does what Matt Barlow does, only he does it better. And, well, I tend to agree with this. I'm going to be the first one to admit that whenever it comes to Matt Barlow, I'm kind of mad about the guy. I enjoy his work, but at the same time, I really felt that other people could do better. In fact, I liked Tim Ripper Owens a whole heck of a lot, and whenever he joined the band, I was fairly excited, because once again, ever since his attempt at fame with Judas Priest, he got an opportunity to sing with a big band that he deserved to be with. And he did fairly well, I believe. Now, of course, just like the Judas Priest fiasco, true fans didn't accept him as the real singer, but what are you going to do? Overall, this album has a nice flow to it. It's another thing that I really enjoy. It's 45 minutes long, roughly in length, if you're talking about the standard edition. There are bonus tracks and the like that are going to throw this up to closer to an hour, if not longer. However, the main principle that I'm going to document here is the flow. And the second idea that I'm also going to speak about is something that's very vital to the flow, and that's that it seems that Stu, whenever he wrote his lyrics and whenever they were writing these songs, they were very, very close and personal to the fact that he has been dealing with his mother, who's been dealing with her battle with cancer and is terminal. So there seems to be a little bit of a softer side, a more melodic side that really is chronicling the idea of life and death, and really paying tribute to his mother, to the point where you would think that with an idea that has ideas from Something Wicked, ideas from, sci-fi slash action slash rebellion movies in them, and then this, would the flow be there? Wouldn't this just be a clusterfuck? Well, actually, no. The flow continues to exhibit itself quite nicely. In fact, it's just the only real flaw that you have with this album is that you've kind of heard it before in some formats. The one thing that does not occur a lot with Iced Earth is a true musical evolution. This is something where it is more omnipresent in the vocal styles. It is present somewhat in the songwriting. However, you're not going to see a tremendous diversion from what they've done on previous work, and this is something that many people have complained about. They've called them a carbon copy band, so to speak, and they have also claimed that this band is very guilty of riff recycling. And while that is something that, if you really want to look close and really want to be a nerd about it, you'll find that there are some cases where that's absolutely true. The point of it is that this is an album that exhibits a very nice flow regardless to that fact. And that's something that is kind of pivotal and vital. Now, this isn't exactly an album that's going to set your world on fire. This isn't exactly a record that's going to completely change your mind about Iced Earth if you disliked them before. Or it might, but I highly doubt it. This will be an album, however, that will make Iced Earth, if you dislike them, seem a little bit more tolerable. And if you already enjoyed the band, Iced Earth, prior to this album, you're going to continue to enjoy them. Not much is going to change. This album feels very status quo until you incorporate in the new vocalist. That's where the change is really very dynamic. That's when the change is very, very feasible and very easy to tell, even though he's essentially doing many similar things to his predecessor. Stu just has a better way of reflecting it. So overall, what do I think of this album? I think this album is a strong 7.5 out of 10. It's got some good material on it. It's got some heartfelt material on it. And they continue a song structure that they have been going with now for about 15 years. So overall, there's a lot of good stuff on this album. But at the same time, like I said, the change in vocalist definitely has a lot to do with this sounding. So I guess radically different in some areas, but at the same time, considering that the band is still the same, it's the reason why some of it will still sound so radically similar. Coverkillernation, Iced Earth is one of those bands that, well, you either like them or hate them. I like this album. What about you?